Ladies and gentlemen, hello to you all and welcome to episode 1 of my new series here on this channel. This is episode 1 of season 1 of Nordvik. Now you probably have some idea what this series will be all about, but if you're still a little bit unsure, then let me help you out. In this series I will be trying to create a realistic Scandinavian area or region. This whole region is called Nordvik, and I don't want to focus on one single city. I rather want to focus on creating up this entire region, and by doing that I can build several different kinds of things instead of just streets in a dense city center. We will have a city in here, but it won't really be a big one. It might just about be classified as a city, or maybe just a town, big town. Now I have decided to call this series Nordvik and this region for Nordvik. I am pronouncing it sort of a different way. I am pronouncing it in a anglified fashion, which means I'm pronouncing it like an Englishman would do or an American would do, instead of someone from, for example, Norway or Sweden would do. That is just to make it a little bit more easier to understand, really. And the same goes with different kinds of things I will be talking about in the series. If there are places that I create in this series, or if there are places in real life that I am talking about, I will be pronouncing it in an English fashion so most of you could understand. I just wanted to point that out in case anyone were to say that I am pronouncing it wrong. So just know that I am pronouncing it in a way that hopefully a lot of you could understand. I also said that this series will be based in Scandinavia. I didn't say just one country, I instead mentioned 3. And when I say Scandinavia, I mean the Scandinavian peninsula. So excluding Denmark from that one and including Finland. In case you didn't know, the Scandinavian peninsula is Sweden, Finland, Norway. But if you look at the sort of cultural Scandinavia, that is Sweden, Norway and Denmark. But the reason why I'm including Finland and excluding Denmark is because I have anything against my fellow Danes. But it is just because the architecture and the landscape is way more different down there. Really, it's a lot more closer to Germany. Both in, of course, geography, but also in architecture and the way the landscape looks. Finland and Sweden are known for their massive forests, but you don't really have that in Denmark. Definitely not like good old-fashioned pine forests like you see in the Scandinavian peninsula. And also the buildings that you find in Denmark, they are mostly made out of brick. Whilst in Norway, Sweden and Finland, they are mostly made out of wood. The simple reason behind that is just because there is a lot of wood to use, really. Now this series is a little bit close to my heart. I am born and raised in Norway and I lived there most of my life, so I will be taking a lot of inspiration from places that I have visited or have lived in or currently living in. So instead of going on to Google Maps and finding inspiration, I can just go outside really and find inspiration just outside my door, which is a little bit frightening because that will make my expectations of this series, my personal ones, a lot higher than I probably would be used to. So I am my biggest critic. So if I make something that I am pleased with, that's always the most important thing. Now when it comes to schedules, I don't have any. I had a schedule, somewhat of a schedule in Boulder Cove, but that series was not as huge as this one. It didn't take that long to make episodes for Boulder Cove as it does with this one. That is a personal choice. I would like to, in this series, make longer videos and also have more higher quality. So I'm choosing quality over quantity. One of the things I had to let go is having a steady schedule So there won't be a weekly upload, there may not be a monthly upload. The videos will be out when they are ready, simple as that. But what I can say is that I have already recorded footage for episode 2 and episode 3, and episode 2 is actually already finished, and if you stick around to the end of the video, I can tell you how you can watch episode 2 right away for free, but that is a little gift for those who manage to stick to the end of this video, so keep a lookout for those news. So hopefully you'll enjoy this video, you'll enjoy the quality, hopefully, and you'll also enjoy the length. I'm aiming towards getting up to half an hour to up to an hour on these videos. This one might be a little bit shorter because I don't really do that much in this video. It's mostly an introduction video with mostly me talking like this, but hopefully once we start really building, I'm hoping towards an hour each and every episode. Now when it comes to the map, you're probably wondering what kind of map it is. I made it myself with using Terrain Party, I think it's called. It's a web page that allows you to really take any sort of terrain map from the real world and import it into your game. I think it is terrain.party. Anyways, you can just search it up on Google, you're probably gonna find it quite simple. But I went onto Terrain Party and I was searching around for a nice area to import, and then I would, once I imported the map into the game, I would make some small changes just to make it a little bit more unique. And I picked a spot in Norway along the coast, because I want this map to really have it all, really. I want every part of this map to have something that is very much Scandinavian and be sort of like a mix of different kinds of areas in Scandinavia. So we do gonna have the coastline, we're gonna have fjords, we're gonna have massive forests, we're gonna have some rivers and lakes. I'm hoping to have everything. The map won't be up on the workshop, but I'm hoping to get the save game up for you guys. I already have a collection going. I just need to finish it up, just do the final tweaks. So I might publish that collection maybe in episode 2 or episode 3, whenever that is coming out. And once the collection is out, then I can publish the save game, in case you want to try it out yourself, or simply just want to take a look at what kind of assets I'm using, or probably what kind of mods I'm using, because I am sort of expecting a few questions to pop up, like what are your mods, what are your visual mods. I might not make a video about it, but you could eventually, when the collection is finished, I will be posting that one and you can check it out. I'm using actually a lot of the same kinds of visual mods that I used in Boulder Cove, with a few more extra to really make it stand out a little bit more. I am also in the time-lapse here, I wasn't too sure of what kind of visual mods I would end up on. I think I have landed on the perfect mix right now, but yeah, I might change it in the end. The thing with finding the perfect visual mods, it's difficult, because everything looks good, and there's so many different kinds of things to tweak, and finding the perfect one is really difficult. I guess you gotta have patience, but you can't just really spend hours and hours just trying to pick something, because in the end everything sort of looks alright. In a time-lapse here, the brightness in the game is kind of off. It's a little bit too bright, so I did actually end up changing that to make it a little bit more darker, a little bit more grey. I also did use a mod that changes the clouds, and I changed it to some very dark, overcast clouds, you know. So it looks like it's about to rain, but it's sort of not, if that makes any sense. And I do feel like when you play the game here with visual mods and you make everything kind of bright, it really highlights the detail. And if you're going for a detail build, you want to turn up the brightness so it, you know, it's visible. You can see what you have spent your time on, and it also makes everything look a little bit better in my opinion. But I want to be realistic here, and I want to paint a realistic picture of how it is up here. You know, we are up or above or just about the Arctic Circle, and you know, definitely in the winter time it's dark constantly, and also during the spring and fall it's a little bit dark and a little bit gray. And maybe when you see like cinematics or screenshots of this, it does look a little bit dark, but that is just how it is, you know. It sounds kind of depressing, but I wanted to make it realistic, and if that is how it is, then let's go for it. There is already a lot of different kinds of series on YouTube with city skylines where they make Californian builds, or you know, any kind of build where they are situated in a sunny location. And the reason why a lot of people do make especially California builds and post it onto YouTube or Reddit is really because it looks good, you know. It's quite simple to mimic the visuals that you might find in real life in those kinds of areas. And also there's tons of assets that are specially made to fit Californian builds. But you know, there's nothing wrong with going a different way, and this is just how it is up here, you know. It is dark, it is depressing, you know, but hopefully this series won't turn depressing. Hopefully not. Yeah, I hope that you enjoy this series, and I hope that you you know, take your time. And I want people to relax when they watch this episode and this entire series. There won't be any flashy edits or loud music in the background. This is almost like a series you can put on right before going to bed, and if you fall asleep halfway through, you know, that's fine. I take that as a compliment, because that means my voice is, you know, sort of soothing, and I hope it is. But enough about my visuals and my voice. Let's talk about what we are doing or have been doing on camera. I started out the episode with some shots and then some ambience music in the background. I use Epidemic Sound to get those sort of soundtracks. It's a great web page. You have to be a paid subscriber to get access to it, but it's not that much per month really. So if you want to make videos like this, then I highly recommend checking out Epidemic Sound. I'll link it in the description if you are interested. Now, the first thing I did after really finishing up the map with just going over with my forest brush, you know, plopping down trees, was building the road infrastructure. And this is actually what I am going to do this episode, building up the road infrastructure. I wanted to have one main road going through the entire thing, from one side of the map to the other, and then I would have other smaller roads going off that main road. And the main road is, in my opinion, it's I would call it a motorway or a highway. At certain parts it definitely is, but in Norway and in the rest of Europe really, you have these roads that are called Europa roads. Like examples on these are E5, E6, E14. Like the E stands for Europe, and the number after it is really just a number to tell you what kind of road it is. The main road that goes through Norway is E6. I do believe it comes into the country just east of Oslo, and then it goes actually all the way up to the most northern point I'm not quite sure, but it's a long stretch, and it is the most important road because it is the one that connects the southern part of Norway with the northern part. And that road, even though it's a huge main road, it's not always a highway. Sometimes it's just a normal road with one lane going one way, one lane going the other way, because simply most of the time that's enough. But when you are in more urban areas or areas where you're closer to a main city, it does split up and becomes 2 lanes going one way and 2 lanes going the other way. And I did want to sort of replicate that in this one. On a main road, you want to drive as fast as possible, really, because that means that you can get from A to B in the quickest possible way. But in order to bump up the speed limit, you need to have long stretches without too many bends and stuff like that. You don't want to be driving at high speeds and then suddenly take a 45-degree turn or something like that. That's why, for example, in Germany, the Autobahn, I think it's called, famously known for not having a speed limit. Not quite sure if they actually do have, but anyways, if they have it, it's quite high. It's ridiculously high. And the reason why is because Germany is kind of flat, and the Autobahn is mostly just going straight forward, straight ahead. The terrain in Norway, at least, it's quite not the same. It's quite hilly, mountainous. You know, you got narrow, deep fjords and tall mountains. Building a road meant for high speeds is kind of impossible in certain areas. That's why in most cases where there is possible, they will like to build tunnels instead. So there is at least, I think you have 4 tunnels in this map already. And in addition to creating the main road, tunneling through the mountains, I wanted to have a smaller road going quite close to it or nearby. That road I want to be like the old road, so that was the main road before they came up with the idea to just go underground in most cases. And as you can see towards the end of the video, during the cinematics and stuff like that, the old road is not as good. It's a simple national road. It's quite bendy. It's quite often quite hilly. It's not a safe way to drive. Definitely if you're driving heavy vehicles like trucks, then it's really not that safe. It is a lot safer to be driving straight ahead right through a tunnel. But I still wanted to have the old roads. There will be most likely people living right off these roads, so they are still very much operational. And also tunnels, they often close, definitely during the night time, whenever they need to have some sort of maintenance work. They often close the tunnels, definitely where I live. They often close them up, and then you're forced to be driving on the old road. So you still get traffic on these old roads, but the speed limit is not even close to what it is on the highway, and it will be a lot slower from getting from point A to point B, but at least you're getting there. I am using the highway roads made by Klus, I think his name is, CLUS. If you are known on the workshop, you probably do know who it is. He or she, I don't know what kind of gender, but they make great roads, and the highway roads here, they fit perfectly actually. They are American, but the lines and the color of the lines, they are actually the exact same that you find here, definitely on the highways. So I'm using his roads on the highway, and I'm using another road, a national road, on the single road that is one way or one lane going each direction. I can't remember who made that, but that is actually also American. I did spend quite a long time finding assets and stuff like that to fit this build. I'm not too pleased actually, because surprisingly enough, there isn't that many things to choose from. Definitely when it comes to buildings, there are literally almost no buildings made out of wood in this game. They're mostly brick buildings. And I do get that, their brick buildings are the most common thing in all of Europe, really, or most of Europe, and definitely the US. But I thought, like, since the game is published by I think it's a Finnish publisher, maybe it's a Swedish publisher, and it's made by a Finnish company. I don't know. It's either Finnish or Swedish. Like, considering it's from there, it's quite surprising that there isn't too many Scandinavian buildings or roads in that case. But I'm happy with the ones I have found right here, and I'm also using the National American Railroads. I'm not too sure what it's called actually, but it is a new railroad pack made by someone. Let me find out, okay? North American Rail by Tim the Terrible. You probably have heard about that pack. It's glorious pack. It includes both props and the network to create very, very realistic railroads. And I wanted to have one railroad going here. Trains isn't that big of a thing in Norway, at least. Also, simple reason why is because of the terrain. It is once again quite difficult to create a railway in an area that is quite steep, quite hilly. It's easier to make roads because definitely in the past cars were better at driving uphill or steep inclines. Trains, not so much, definitely if there were industrial trains. But I still wanted to have one going here. I want it to be one line, and I want it to be shared by both industrial and passenger trains. However, I probably just want to have just one coming through every now and then. I don't want too much traffic because that would be quite unrealistic in an area like this. So my plan is to build a train station at the end of the map. It's sort of like it's gonna be sort of invisible, and I'm gonna put up a train line going from the edge of the map to what will be nearby the city center. And I'm gonna be bringing out just one train, so we're gonna have just one train going back and forth. That is my idea at this point, at least, because there won't be that many trains in an area like this. If they were delivering goods, it would be just simpler and probably also cheaper just to use trucks to do that. There won't be the city as well. It won't be a big city, so there won't be need for that huge amount of goods coming in. There won't be need for that. So I would see it very realistic to just have the trucks coming in. But I am placing down the railway going just following the shoreline, really, because definitely in the past, as I already mentioned, trains were struggling to go uphill, even though the incline was barely nothing. And I would imagine that this railway was quite old and maybe even barely intact. But definitely now there is a rise in popularity in trains, and whenever different kinds of train stations are being forced to shut down, people protest because it's not only just a mean of transportation, but it's also part of the history. Each and every train station, almost each and every train station in Norway is it's just this wonderful, beautiful old wooden building, and very often, even though the train station might be shut down, they still keep the building, because it is really just a sign of the tradition, and they're really beautiful. And sometimes they turn into a museum, sometimes actually turn into homes as well, but sometimes they just keep on being a train station, which is lovely. So trains in Norway are not really that used, but it is being used, and it is very traditional. It's a part of the history. If you are keeping your eyes on the time-lapse, I am now working on this bridge. This will be very close to the city center. The city center will be on one side of this river or fjord. I don't even know what it's called, but this bridge will be quite popular. It will be sort of on every postcard from this area, and it's very much inspired by the Atlantic Road, which is also in Norway. If you don't know the Atlantic Road, you most likely already seen pictures of it. It's quite unique, and it's quite beautiful actually. It's not just a straight bridge. It goes on to several smaller islands, and it kind of curves up and down, and I can't imagine actually driving on it. It must be somewhat of a scary experience, but I guess the speed limit is quite low. But yeah, I would definitely love to visit that place in real life. So I wanted to mimic that as well, have sort of a mini version of that bridge instead of just a boring bridge going straight across. I'm also doing this sort of design on purpose because I do want to have large cruise ships coming in, and then they do need a space to get underneath the bridge. So that's why at least one side of the bridge is quite tall, even though there isn't that need to make it that tall, but the need is there, and it's gonna be there because I want to have cruise ships coming in this way. I can't wait to see how that looks, having a giant cruise ship going right through this, I'm gonna call it a fjord. Most likely it's gonna be a fjord. It looks like a river right now, but I'm gonna make it look a little bit more like a fjord. Now let me go back to what I was talking about earlier about assets. I'm using a lot of custom assets, but I'm not using that many assets specifically designed to fit a Scandinavian theme. A reason why is because there just isn't any. So if you are a asset creator, then please, for the love of God, make something. I would be very happy, and I would definitely showcase it if you were to make something, anything really that would fit and I could use in this series, because there's not that many things that really stands out. I do have found a few cottages and farmhouses that are very Swedish looking, at least, and to some extent Norwegian looking. The same goes with Finnish as well. I also found a few signs, for example, from like famous Swedish or Norwegian stores. But it's just the simple things like normal houses. I don't have many of them, and I did say that I already made or built the footage for episode 2 and 3, but I didn't build that many houses in that one. Definitely not normal houses, because I was really never satisfied with what I found. I did, however, find a lot of farmhouses, as I said, so there's gonna be a lot of farms in definitely episode 3. That is almost like dedicated to farmland. But I am wanting to find more just simple, normal looking houses. Like I'm gonna just show you some pictures right now of basically just normal looking homes that you can find in Norway, Sweden, Finland, and also normal looking commercial areas. There are brick buildings in the big cities like Oslo and Stockholm, but this city won't be as big as those, and it won't be as new. I would imagine that the city center in this area would be mostly built in probably like maybe like the 50s or 60s or something like that. And it won't be a huge city center like the shopping center or the shopping street. Will be probably just, as I said, one street. And as you go further away from the city center, you might get newer buildings, including brick buildings, But yeah, right now I'm just hoping that someone makes sort of these buildings, because simply I do not have time. I do not have time to first of all learn how to use Blender and simply just make the assets myself. If this was my full-time job, sure, but I am a full-time student and part-time other stuff, you know. I have a part-time job as well, so building assets as well as making this series would be frankly impossible. But I'm trying my best, and I have been sort of trying out procedural objects. You're gonna see me next episode, I think, trying out procedural objects for probably like the first time in a few years. Spoiler alert, it didn't go too well, but I'm hoping to learn, of course. There is a long time since I was making a detailed series like this, and I'm using a lot of the same mods, but those mods as well have been improved, definitely procedural objects. And of course there's come a lot of new mods as well, new visual mods, and I just, yeah, I need time to delve onto anything, and I just try it out, really. Try and see what I can find and see what I can do. But so far it's doing all right, in my opinion. Now we are done with the networks, done with roads, we're done with the railroads. I am going to show you a map of this entire area, and I'm going to show you the roads that we have been making or are planning to make, plus different kinds of places of interest, really. So these are the main road. This is the main road going from point A to point B. If this place was in Norway, this would most likely be the E6, which is the main road in Norway that I talked about earlier. Most of the time it's just a national road with one lane going each way. Sometimes it goes on to being 2 lanes going one way and 1 lane being the other way. The reason why it's like that is because there is a incline or a steep hill, and I made 2 lanes so that the faster cars could pass the slower cars, like for example trucks that would be struggling to keep up with the speed limit. They would be on the right hand side, the right lane, and then cars that would be able to keep up with the speed limit would be on the left lane. Actually in Norway it's actually illegal to be driving on the left lane. It's only meant to be used when you are passing cars. So you're not allowed to really just be driving on the left lane all the time. You're only supposed to use it when you are passing slower vehicles. That's a little bit of a fun fact for you. But as I said, this is the main road. This would be the main road in the past, so it would now be known as like the old road. The locals would probably just call it the old road or the old E6 if this main road is E6. As you can see, it's a lot more corners, a lot more winding. It's also going a lot uphill and also downhill, of course. It also goes and hugs the shoreline. It's quite bendy and therefore quite dangerous, at least if it's raining or snowing and you're driving at high speeds. And it would of course be a lot slower to drive than driving on the main road. Now the places I highlighted now are the towns that I will be highlighting. The one in roughly the middle will be the main town. It will be maybe even classified as a city, not quite sure yet, but this would be the main town. If this was a municipality, then the city hall would be in this area. This is where we're gonna have the most likely university. We're gonna have some shopping streets, shopping malls, train station, industry. We're gonna have a lot of things. The other towns are quite a lot smaller. They would also have a few stores, most of them. They would have their own elementary school. Not always would they have a high school, not too sure yet, but maybe one of them would have their own high school. But they would have their own elementary school at least. And they would also have their own sports club, which is very, I don't know if this is uniquely Scandinavian, but for every area, every small town, they usually have their own sports club, whether that be football or soccer or skiing or handball, for example, anything really. The sports club is quite closely linked to the school because most of the members of the sports club would be kids. So I will be, for almost every elementary school, I would place down a football pitch right next to it, or maybe even a small like indoor hall, and pretend that's a handball arena. So that as well would be something that each and every town would have and would be uniquely theirs. Other things that I'm planning to do in this area is building this island here. It's a huge island and I wanted to have a lot of people living here. I want it to be separated, so I won't have any bridge crossing here. I instead would like a ferry only to connect this island up to the mainland. And I also want this island to also have its own elementary school. But once your kids turn whatever age they start the high school at, they would have to take the ferry over each and every morning to get to school. Because that as well is very much typical Norwegian. You might just go onto Google Earth, find yourself a random island in the middle of nowhere, out on the coast, and there might be a few people living there. Most likely there will be people living there. Sadly, these communities are dying. People are moving to cities. They are, things are urbanizing. Farming and fishing isn't that normal anymore, even though it is very important to get food, of course. But a lot of people find jobs otherwise, like office jobs in a city. So these communities would be dying. I think Nordvik as a whole would probably be declining when it comes to population, but not on a huge scale. This still would be quite a large town or a small city. But I would imagine it would be nearby to a bigger city, and you could have maybe even people living here in Nordvik who are driving every day to work in a bigger city nearby. That could be the case, and that is definitely something you see these days. Just the last couple of years. Not necessarily is the most growth in the biggest cities in Norway, but it's most growth in the smaller cities nearby, because people want to live somewhere a little bit more cheaper. The prices on houses isn't that ridiculously expensive in the smaller cities than there is in the big cities. So they want to pay less to live in an area, but they're willing to drive longer or pay more for public transport to get to work. So in that case, if Nordvik is a area closer to a big city, this place most likely will be growing actually in population, which is quite nice. The last thing I am doing in this episode is actually just working on a small little area right outside the highway, the main road going through this area. I included this just because I was kind of tired of just making road networks and stuff like that. So I wanted to, start detailing, get a feel of how it might turn out. So I made this small, I won't call it a beach, but it's kind of like that. There's this boat placed here, there's some canoes. This would most likely be a place where you would drive to with a boat, like a small rowboat, and carry it down towards the shoreline, and then spend the afternoon out on the sea. I also placed down like a small cabin, and that could be maybe a place you can store your boats, for example. It is very much hidden. You would have to go off the highway in a roundabout, park in a small parking lot, which isn't really a parking lot, it's just a large area of gravel. And then you would have to carry it down a small path going actually across the train line, and then you would come down to the beach area. Probably during the summer this would also be a place where you could go swimming. I would imagine it is possible to go swimming in the summer. I wouldn't personally do it right there because this would probably be salt water and be close to the ocean, which would mean it would be a lot colder. I do like to go swimming in lakes, smaller lakes that is fresh water and also a lot warmer, really, just because the sun is able to warm up smaller pools of water than larger ones. Simple as that. But that is almost everything that we have in this episode. We are getting close to the end of this video, and if you have watched everything, please, for the love of God, let me know. I want to know who your legends are. I almost want to thank you in person, but I won't really travel the world just to say thank you. But yeah, it would mean a lot. If you enjoyed, please like this video. It would help me out so much, more than you could probably ever imagine. And also subscribe for the next episode. And talking about the next episode, here's a little thank you for watching this entire video all the way to the end. You can watch it right now by following some few simple steps. Go onto my Discord and watch it there. That's as simple as that is. In the description and probably also in the pinned comment, there is a link to my Discord. Join me over there, and it should be a room with the name Nordvik or new series or whatever, and the new episode should be up there, hopefully. And if it's not up there right now, it means that you are watching this literally probably seconds after I posted this video, but it should be up within minutes. I would assume. But join me on Discord. I will be posting more screenshots there, more updates there. There still will be updates to my Twitter, which you also should follow. But there will be a lot more stuff on Discord. If you don't have Discord, that's fine. Episode 2 will be up shortly anyways. But if you want to watch it right now, then it's quite simple. Just head on over to my Discord and watch it there. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy this series. I hope you enjoy that I am choosing quality over quantity. And hopefully it is quality. I hope so. This took me so long to make, not just building itself, but also editing, recording, time-lapse, recording my voiceover. I do not just sit down, make a quick time-lapse and just talk right over it. It is a lot more editing than it might seem. So a lot of time has gone into this one, but hopefully it will be worth it. Hopefully it's a good video. But I will now leave you with some cinematics at the end. I would like to thank you all for watching. Hope to see you soon. And once and for all, welcome to Nordic.